Welcome to Coins Hunter USA, the channel where rare coins come to life. If you've ever wondered whether that small penny in your pocket could actually be worth a fortune, you're in the right place. Today, we're shining the spotlight on one of America's most iconic coins, the Lincoln penny. This isn't just a piece of change, it's a piece of history, and in some rare cases, it's a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. So, coin lovers, stay tuned, because what I'm about to share might just change the way you look at every penny you hold in your hand. Top 1. Today we are diving into the 1981 Lincoln penny, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this tiny coin has become one of the most talked about treasures among collectors. Let's start with a bit of history, because understanding the time period makes this coin even more fascinating. The year 1981 marked the end of an era. For decades, Lincoln pennies had been struck mostly from copper. But in 1982, everything changed. Because copper prices were soaring, the United States Mint made the decision to switch to a cheaper copper-plated zinc composition. That means the 1981 penny was one of the last years where these coins were made almost entirely of copper. This small detail adds huge significance for collectors, because it represents the closing chapter of America's true copper penny, but what really excites collectors are the rare errors and varieties from 1981. Let's talk about them in detail. One of the most famous errors is the double die variety. This happens when the coin design is stamped incorrectly, creating a doubling effect. Imagine looking at the motto, "In God We Trust," or the word "Liberty," and seeing a ghost-like shadow behind the letters. That's a double die, and it can instantly transform a normal penny into a rare and highly sought-after collectible. Another thing to pay attention to are the mint marks. In 1981, pennies were struck in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia don't carry a mint mark, Denver pennies have a small D, and San Francisco struck proof coins with an S mint mark. Proof coins from San Francisco are especially collectible, and tiny details in the S mint mark can make all the difference. For example, some pennies feature what collectors call the Type 1 and Type 2 mint mark variations, which look slightly different under magnification. Believe it or not, those small differences can add hundreds or even thousands of dollars to a coin's value. Condition is another key factor. Most 1981 pennies went straight into circulation, where they were scratched, scuffed, and worn down by decades of use. You'll find plenty of them today, but most aren't worth more than their face value. The real treasures are those that somehow escaped circulation. Coins that are graded as mint state, meaning they look as sharp and clean as the day they were struck, are the ones collectors will pay a fortune for. The higher the grade, the higher the value, so a 1981 penny in uncirculated condition is a real prize. And let's not forget about error coins. Sometimes during production, a coin might be struck off-center, missing part of its design. Others might show die cracks, where the metal leaves unusual raised lines across the coin. Some coins may even feature unusual coloration or lamination errors, where the metal layers peel slightly. While these might look like mistakes to the untrained eye, to collectors, they're unique treasures that can command serious premiums. Each error coin is essentially one of a kind, which is why they are so desirable. Now, here's something really important to keep in mind. Many people overlook the coins sitting in their change jars, thinking they're just worth a penny. But collectors know better. A 1981 penny could be worth next to nothing, or it could be worth thousands. It all comes down to condition, errors, and varieties. That's what makes the hunt so exciting. Every time you check your change, there's a possibility that you might uncover something truly valuable. So, the big question remains, just how much could a rare 1981 Lincoln penny actually be worth? Well, if you're lucky enough to have one in pristine, uncirculated condition, with a rare double die error or one of those special mint mark variations, the value can reach an absolutely staggering $103,000. Yes, you heard that right, $103,000 for a coin most people overlook every single day. It's incredible to think about, but that's the beauty of coin collecting. History, rarity, and condition all come together to turn an ordinary penny into a life-changing discovery. So the next time you're sorting through some old coins, don't pass by that 1981 penny too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the details, examine the mint mark, and see if you've stumbled upon one of those rare treasures. You never know, what you thought was just a penny could actually be a jackpot. Top 2. We're diving into one of the most fascinating and transitional years in U.S. coin history, the Lincoln penny from 1982. This year is unlike any other, because it marked a major change that created multiple varieties, some incredible rarities, and even a few coins worth tens of thousands of dollars. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why collectors go crazy for this penny and how one small coin can be worth a life-changing amount of money. The story of the 1982 penny begins with America's economy. By the early 1980s, copper prices were climbing so high that the U.S. Mint realized it was actually costing them more than 1 cent to make a single penny. To solve this problem, 1982 became the turning point. For part of the year, pennies were still made from the traditional 95% copper and 5% zinc. But midway through 1982, the mint changed the composition to a core of 97.5% zinc with just a thin copper plating on top. That means there are both copper and zinc versions of the 1982 penny, and identifying which one you have is the first step in determining value. But the story doesn't stop there. 1982 is also famous because the mint produced 7 different recognized varieties of the Lincoln penny. You have small date and large date versions for both Philadelphia and Denver mints, and then add in the copper versus zinc compositions. These subtle differences might sound complicated, but to a collector, they're golden. For example, the small date copper pennies are harder to find and are considered more desirable than the common large date zinc pennies. Just imagine, 2 coins that look almost identical to the naked eye can have completely different values. Now, let's talk about errors, because this is where things get really exciting. With all these changes happening in 1982, it's no surprise that mistakes were made at the mint. Collectors have found double die errors, where parts of the design, like the date or lettering, look shadowed or doubled. There are also transitional errors, such as coins struck on the wrong planchet. One of the most famous and valuable types is when a 1982 penny was struck on a copper planchet when it was supposed to be zinc, or vice versa. These transitional error coins are extremely rare and command incredible prices at auctions. Condition, of course, is key. Circulated 1982 pennies are everywhere. You'll find them in change, in jars, even lying around in drawers. But high-grade examples that have been preserved in mint state condition, with no scratches, no wear, and full luster, are far more desirable. When these coins are professionally graded and placed in holders, their value skyrockets. And when you combine pristine condition with a rare variety or an error, that's when you're talking about serious money. Think about it, the 1982 penny might be one of the most exciting coins in modern US history simply because of how many possibilities exist. You've got copper versus zinc, small date versus large date, Philadelphia versus Denver mint, proof versions from San Francisco, and then the countless errors that make individual coins unique. Each of these variations creates opportunities for collectors, and each one tells a piece of the story of America's changing economy at the time. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. If you are lucky enough to find a rare 1982 Lincoln penny, especially one with a transitional error or in perfect mint state condition, the value can reach an absolutely astonishing $98,000. Yes, you heard that right, $98,000 for a coin most people think is just a penny. This is why it pays to check your change carefully, look through old collections, and keep your eyes open for those small but valuable details. So, the next time you spot a 1982 penny, don't ignore it. Weigh it, examine it, and see if you have one of those rare copper versions, a small date variety, or even an incredible error. Who knows, you might just be holding a fortune in your hand without even realizing it. Top 3. We are going to dive deep into one of the most fascinating modern coins ever produced, the 1984 Lincoln penny. At first glance, it might look like just another 1-cent coin, but believe me, this little copper beauty carries stories of rarity, minting errors, and value that will absolutely surprise you. So stay with me until the very end of this video, because you'll want to know why collectors are paying incredible amounts for this coin. Now, let's begin by talking about the history of the Lincoln penny. Designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, the Lincoln cent became one of the most iconic coins in American history, featuring the beloved portrait of President Abraham Lincoln. Fast forward to 1984, and while the design may look the same, something very unusual happened during the minting process. This created a coin that went from being ordinary pocket change to becoming a rare collectible worth thousands. The biggest reason the 1984 penny is so special is because of the famous double ear error. On some of the coins produced in Philadelphia that year, if you look closely at Lincoln's ear, you can actually see a second, doubled outline. This doubling was not intentional, it was the result of a minting mishap. But for collectors, these kinds of errors are pure gold. The sharper and more visible the doubling, the higher the coin's value climbs. Some of the strongest doubled ear varieties are so distinct that they can be spotted without magnification, making them highly sought after in the coin collecting world, but the rarity doesn't stop there. Condition plays a massive role. Most 1984 pennies you'll come across will be heavily circulated, scratched, or worn down, which reduces their value. However, uncirculated examples, those bright red coins with sharp details, are what truly send collectors into bidding wars. A mint state 1984 doubled ear penny is like striking treasure. These coins don't just sit in collections, they become centerpieces, proudly displayed by coin lovers who know exactly how special they are. It's also worth noting that finding one of these coins isn't impossible. Many collectors have discovered them by simply checking their change, coin jars, or old penny rolls from the bank. Imagine picking up a handful of pennies and realizing one of them could pay for a car, a year of college, or even help you start your own coin business. That's the thrill of this hobby, and why every coin lover listens carefully to stories like this. Collectors love the 1984 penny because it represents a perfect storm of circumstances, a classic design, a striking and visible mint error, and an element of surprise that turns ordinary change into a rare and valuable treasure. Every time one of these double deer pennies comes up for auction, it grabs the attention of serious coin hunters and investors. And now, let's talk about the part everyone is waiting for, the value. While regular 1984 pennies will always just be worth 1 cent, the rare double deer variety in pristine, uncirculated condition has shocked collectors by reaching a staggering price of $96,000. So before you toss aside that handful of change or roll of pennies, take a closer look. Your pocket change might just hold one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in modern US history. Top 4. We're going to shine the spotlight on a coin that might look completely ordinary at first glance but can actually be one of the most exciting finds for any coin collector, the 1975 Lincoln penny. Now, let's take a moment to think about it. Pennies are the coins we often overlook. They rattle around in our pockets, get tossed into jars, or sometimes even left behind because people think they're not worth much. But when it comes to the world of coin collecting, even a humble penny can become a rare treasure. And the 1975 Lincoln cent is the perfect example of this. So, what makes the 1975 penny so special? First, we need to remember that this was a time when pennies were still made primarily of copper, a metal that gave them a distinct, rich color and durability. Millions of them were minted, but a small number carried unusual characteristics that set them apart. Minting errors are the main reason why some of these coins have reached incredible values. One of the most famous errors collectors look for in the 1975 penny is doubling. Sometimes, during the minting process, the design elements were struck more than once but slightly misaligned, creating a doubled appearance on parts of the coin. If you take a magnifying glass and look at Lincoln's profile, the lettering, or even the date, you might notice this kind of doubling. That's not damage, that's a valuable error. The clearer and sharper the doubling, the more the value climbs. Another rare feature found on some 1975 pennies is off-center striking. Imagine a coin where the design is not perfectly centered but shifted toward one edge. These misstrikes are easy to spot and are highly prized by collectors. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes, but condition is also everything. Most 1975 pennies you'll find in circulation are scratched, worn down, or faded. That makes sense because they've been around for nearly half a century. However, the real treasures are those few coins that have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, bright, sharp, and full of detail. When you combine such perfect condition with a rare mint error, you're looking at a coin that can make even seasoned collectors sit up straight with excitement. And here's the part that really gets coin lovers talking. Some 1975 Lincoln pennies with these rare characteristics have gone on to achieve breathtaking prices at auctions. They are not just considered pocket change anymore, they become treasures that collectors compete fiercely to own. Imagine finding one of these coins in your change and realizing you're holding a hidden gem. That's the thrill of this hobby. Every penny, every coin has a story, and sometimes that story can lead you to a life-changing discovery. The 1975 Lincoln penny is one of those coins that remind us why collectors are always checking their pockets, their jars of coins, and their rolls from the bank. You never know when you might strike gold, or in this case, copper. And now for the value that makes everyone lean closer to the screen. A rare 1975 Lincoln penny with errors in top condition has been known to sell for as much as $123,000. Top 5. We're diving into one of the most fascinating coins that collectors love to talk about, the 1976 Lincoln penny. At first glance, this coin might look like just another cent you've seen countless times, but what makes this little piece of copper so exciting is the combination of history, rarity, and those special minting errors that turn an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. Let's set the scene. The year 1976 was a big one in American history, the bicentennial year. While quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins got their special bicentennial designs, the humble penny kept Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Even without a commemorative design, the penny of this year carries its own importance in the numismatic world. Millions were minted, but only a tiny fraction have survived in conditions and forms that make collectors' eyes light up. So why should you pay attention to the 1976 Lincoln penny? It all comes down to rarity and errors. During production, even the smallest imperfections can result in valuable variations. For example, some 1976 pennies show signs of doubling. You might see doubled letters in the word liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," or even in the date itself. This type of error, known as a double die, is one of the most sought-after mistakes by collectors because it's rare, easily visible, and adds huge value. Another incredible type of error is the off-center strike. Imagine a coin where Lincoln's portrait isn't centered but shifted to the side, leaving part of the blank planchet visible. The more dramatic the shift, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. Even smaller off-center errors attract strong interest, but extreme examples are true prizes. There are also examples of die cracks, clipped planchets, and repunched mint marks that collectors carefully search for. These features may look like flaws, but in the coin world, they are treasures. They prove that the coin is unique, one of a kind, and far different from the billions of ordinary pennies produced. And then comes the all-important factor: condition. Many 1976 pennies circulated heavily, so they're scratched, faded, or worn down. But when you find one in pristine condition, what collectors call mint state or uncirculated, the difference in value can be dramatic. The shine, the sharp details, and the preserved surface make these coins stand out from the rest. Combine perfect condition with a rare error, and you've got a coin that transforms from pocket change into a serious investment. Collectors and coin enthusiasts know that these rare 1976 pennies don't come along often. When they appear at auctions, they spark excitement and bidding wars because everyone wants to own a piece of history that also represents a true rarity. That's why it's so important to check your coins carefully. What looks ordinary could be hiding extraordinary value, and now comes the part you've been waiting for. Some of the rarest and most desirable 1976 Lincoln pennies with errors in top condition have sold for an unbelievable amount. One of these coins has reached as high as $121,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny from 1976, something you might find in loose change, can be worth well over $100,000. So, coin lovers, always keep your eyes open. That little cent sitting in your pocket or resting in a jar at home could be hiding a fortune. And if you want to keep discovering more rare and valuable coins like this, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to Coins Hunter USA, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a chance to learn about hidden treasures that might just be in your change. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy collecting.